Food Service Power Plant Network. Yo, friends, it's Monday night, the final Monday night before we all celebrate in person together for the first time in 3 years. Welcome to our another Food Service Power Plant conversation. Tonight, we have an awesome guest. I am beyond excited for this because Steve Spittle of Middleby has had such a wickedly cool career journey. He's in a role that we're going to learn more about what his role means. Chief Commercial Officer. What does that even mean? We're going to learn about that. But to be in a role like that, in a leadership position with Middleby, one of our industry's greatest, largest, most influential and positive companies, is so cool. And I would say that in some ways, I didn't know that was possible at some point. And watching Steve's career journey, it gives me hope. And I think hope for so many young people. I'm particularly excited for so many of our younger industry friends to be a part of tonight. Listen to Steve's journey. A couple of thoughts. First of all, you can totally comment. If you've got thoughts for Steve and I, if you've got questions, throw them in the group. Love to hear them. Secondly, if you've got a pen like this and you've got a paper, I take some notes. Steve's journey, when he was sharing with me a little bit about his journey and how he's grown and some of his mentors, it's fascinating to hear those things that he attributes to some of his growth. And they're things that are available to all of us. So I want you to be able to write those notes down, think about them tonight, wake up in the morning and be like, you know what, maybe this is something I can improve in my life or grow in or develop or connect with more people, whatever that is. So take a few notes. Oh, look at this. Maureen Slocum's in the house. Can't wait to hear Steve's journey. Maureen, oh, I love it. And we both can't wait to see you on Saturday night. Who is this? Ahmad, looking forward to this. Hey, Ahmad, hope you are great. Jeff Yates, Jason Wayne for president. No, thanks. I'm out of the running for that one, pal. Super excited. By the way, I am just, I'm not like texting my friends. I'm going to pull up Facebook real quick so I can see. Sometimes we can't see who you are. So I'm just going to go in the group real quick and find you. And that way we can sort of honor you along the way as you make comments to Steve and I. There we go. I'm in. Lastly, a huge thanks to the Zumba group. Maureen was just on. Here she is. There's her lovely face and comment and name. Thanks to Maureen and Joe and Dave and Kathy, the whole team over at Zumba, FENS, RD&D, for believing in this mission of positivity, that success leaves clues, of picking the brains of our industry's leaders so that we can grow. Maureen, thank you for being a supporting partner. So grateful for you all. And to the team at Craven Company there, we were working on the website this weekend and so many great things happening to give you resources, anyone who's watching, to go find, hey, what are resources for me to grow? How do I hear all these conversations? What is the Power Plant Network at all? So you can go to fspowerplant.com, go check that out. So thanks to Crave and the team. Holy smokes. Look at this. Jennifer Ward. Steve is a rock star. Hold on. Let's go find him. Let's bring him on before we do all these. Steve!
Yo, Jason.
Yo, brother. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, brother. Okay, so is this metaphorical or do you really play an instrument?
I may, maybe further in the conversation. That's super nice of Jen. I've, as we talked about my career, I've known Jen for a long time, back to my rep days. And
so
we had a lot of fun selling a lot of beverage air back in the day. So yeah, that's awesome, Jen.
Jen, we can't wait to see you on Saturday. Mark's in the house.
Oh my gosh, Mark Fogarty! Holy smokes! Oh, another one from back in rep days with Mark at Wells. So oh my god, thanks for
so great. Look at this, Chris East. Chris, we can't wait to see you in Chicago where you get your award. Finally, we're super excited for you. Proud of you. Love it, love it. Alyssa. Listening during kid pickup. I'm excited to learn and be inspired. So great. Oh, look at this. Jason, kill it with Steve. And I love his yo. That is great. Rob Connolly's in the house. This is great. Jonathan Gustafson. Steve is a great example for us young people. Jonathan, I agree, brother. And I don't totally know how we define young. I'm older than you, Steve, by a few years, but I still kind of feel like I'm in the young category. I don't know if that's true or not, but
it's funny. I'm sure we'll talk about this. We started a while back. Joe Flaherty, Joe Carcione from Nemco started the NAFM Young Executive Group, and I think when we started it 6 or 7 years ago, it was 40 or under. And I think we actually just bumped it up to 45 to make some of us who were not quite that old when we started it still feel included in the group. So yeah, details.
Love it. We're going to get there. Steve has a great golf game.
Not so much anymore. Rich, you're not allowed to say stuff like that. Wow, this is some awesome people joining. Lots of great people.
How awesome, Steve! Listen, man, thanks for being a part of tonight's hour. So many are excited. You are the Chief Commercial Officer of Middleby. Can you kind of tell us what that is, and and then number two, I'd love just a synopsis of your career journey because it's a fascinating one.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks for having me on. It was great to meet you officially in person at the NAFM annual meeting a couple months ago in Arizona. I think I joked to you at the time, I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity. Every time I open my LinkedIn feed or see you on a stage or hosting, emceeing a award event, you're everywhere. And I don't know if you're doing selfies and autographs in your booth this weekend, but
just handshakes and hugs, brother. Handshakes and hugs. That's what we do.
I will say, just Jason, all joking aside, the platform that you've created with this network through COVID and the ability to connect so many people from the industry and the stories. I told you the other day, as I look back at the people you've had on, and just so many great, for me personally, just great mentors and great industry leaders. So just very appreciative of the invitation and looking forward to the time. Role as a Chief Commercial Officer. Every day is a little bit different. So maybe I'm still trying to figure it out. I will tell you on paper, if you will, a lot of our Middleby's commercial food service divisions, I would say more of the traditional cooking divisions, report into me in the US and in Europe. And then, I'm pretty involved with a lot of our selling activities, again, both domestically and in Europe. And that's on chains, dealers, buying groups, reps. And the selling side is really my background in the company. But, in Middleby, I would say you're always wearing a different hat every day. And you can have a day that today is maybe a little bit more, focused on, the financial side of the company. Tomorrow could be, engaging with reps and dealers on the sales side. And the next, day after is who knows what. And that's what actually I probably love most about the role and about Middleby is literally no day is the same. And so when you say, hey, what's Chief Commercial Officer do? I'm telling you what it is supposed to be, but it is, your hands are kind of in a little bit everything. And that's what makes it pretty awesome.
Fun. Boredom is struggle for me. So I love in a role like that you never feel bored. Yeah, you're always given an opportunity to learn because everything's new and you get to perfect a lot of things. Yeah. How the heck did you end up there? You've been in a lot of different roles in the industry, not a lot, but I don't mean a lot of different roles, but I mean, you've seen the industry from a lot of different perspectives as a rep, as a dealer, manufacturer. Can you tell us about that journey?
Yeah. So it'll be 20 years next year that I've been in the industry, which is hard to believe. Like many people, I found the industry by pure accident. So I grew up, Jason, in Dublin, Ohio, which is a suburb of Columbus. Okay. It's where Wendy's is headquartered. If anybody's been to the Wendy's headquarters office, they've been there forever. In Dublin. I went to school about an hour west of Columbus at Wittenberg University. It's just outside of Dayton. And, I thought pretty early on, I was an economics finance major. I really wanted to go work on Wall Street and work, kind of big, I'll call it big boy finance and work in a big city like that, New York, Chicago. And that's kind of what I had my path set on from the get-go. And then, plugging along and, getting my degree. And, the fall of my junior year is when 9/11 happened. And, obviously such a tragic, event for our country and everything, everybody went through. And obviously had a tremendous impact on, the job market in general, but especially, Wall Street was obviously devastated. And so there were no jobs anywhere near that, especially for a, recent graduate coming out of college. And so as I was coming into my final semester at Wittenberg, I was thinking about, hey, what else could I do? And you're going to laugh at me for just a moment, but I thought I could be a club golf professional.
Okay, so Rich wasn't lying.
So yeah. I shouldn't listen to him. But I played golf in college. I was okay, good enough to be a club pro, and so we belonged to a small club in Columbus, and I went and I met with the longtime pro there, just about how you get started, what's certification like, the process like, and a few days later, I get a phone call, and it's from a gentleman named Greg Baker. And Greg was a member at the club. And I knew who he was, but I didn't really know him. And he said, hey, I understand you're looking for a job. Yeah. I'm a partner of a manufacturer's rep firm in the commercial food service industry. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
What does a manufacturer's rep in the commercial food service industry do? And so he proceeded to say, hey, we're looking to find a new person to join the company, kind of looking for somebody younger that could come in, learn the role, and eventually, really join the team and learn the business. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, so I met with them, and imagine trying to explain to somebody who has no idea what a rep does in this industry and who dealers are and chains are and consultants are. I knew who Wendy's was, again, being in Dublin. I knew who Wasserstrom was because of their yellow superstore signs. They're all over Columbus. But that was it. And so I met with Greg. I met with his partner, Larry Beretta, who was his partner up in Michigan. And they offered me a job. And it was the only job offer I had coming out of college. Huh. And so I took it. And the thinking at the time was, hey, it's a job, it's experience, make a little bit of money. And I never thought like this would be a career. I thought, hey, I'm going to do it for a year or two and then I'm out of here. Sure. We were equipment reps. Like, there's no way I'm selling, ovens and whatever else the rest of my life. Like, no way. And, I guess fast forward a year or two, Greg was buying Larry out for the territory. So Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Western PA was MOFSI Chapter 7. And so I went with Greg, and then I ended up moving to Cincinnati kind of around that time, just to better cover the market and cover, Southwest Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. And so that's what I did. And I'm sure we'll come back to parts of this a little bit, but I guess the Cliff Note version is, I stayed as a rep, and I really enjoyed being a rep. Great way to learn the industry and the people and the fundamentals of reps, dealers, consultants, end users, the process in which that all takes place. It was a great education. I feel so fortunate to have had. As I came into 2009, okay, market was starting to kind of slow, and I was starting to really think about, hey, what I like food service, I like being a rep, but what is my eventual path for my career? And ironically, I was at the MOFSI conference, the fall of 2009 in Toronto. Okay. And I run into the opening reception. I run into Paul Angrick. And Paul, I knew because Paul, when I first started as rep, was the president of Wells Manufacturing in Reno, and we repped Wells. And Wells was the very first factory I ever visited as a rep. Wow. And Paul was the president. It was one of the first industry people I ever met, and we hit it off. Phil Eaton, sorry. No, yeah, we did. Those are great memories. Yeah. Sorry.
You're good.
Those were great memories. Yeah.
You know what? I love that you've got those fond memories.
So I knew Paul, and we had developed a good rapport. And there were several times when he was at Wells where he was like, "Hey, if you ever want to come work for a manufacturer, the door would be open." I remember telling him, "There's no flipping way I'm ever going to work for a manufacturer. Manufacturer," spoken like true rep, like those guys are worthless, right? They don't do anything. They're at the pool all the time, playing golf or drinking. Actually, it's probably made it sound pretty good. And so I run into Paul at the MOFSI conference. He says, "Hey, are you doing anything for dinner tonight?" And so we go and we have dinner, just the two of us, at Harbor 60 in downtown Toronto. If you've ever been to downtown Toronto, great restaurants, right? It's right on the harbor, it's right on the water in Toronto. And so Paul, Middleby had just acquired Wells. And so Paul was in Middleby, and he had just been named the president of Pitco. And so he was moving with his wife, Meg, to New Hampshire to run Pitco. And so at dinner, he was like, "Hey, if you ever wanted to come to Pitco or Middleby, the door is open." And the timing was right. And I just was like, I'm ready for a new challenge. At the time, it was really just, hey, could I go? Was I good enough, right? Could I do something different? Could I do it on more of a regional or national company? And, you don't get too many opportunities, to come into, a Middleby. Pitco was frankly at the time, and it's still today, a flagship brand in Middleby, and I'm sure I'm a little bit biased, but it's a great brand. And so I obviously I knew Paul. I met with Tim Fitzgerald, who at the time was the CFO of Middleby. It's the first time I met Tim. And they offered me a job, and I started in January of 2010 as a more or less a regional for Paul, and got after it. And that was the start of manufacturing life.
Wow.
And yeah, so sorry, I'm long-winded in the story. So it's funny how things work. We had a great group when I first joined, and in 2012, sorry, I'm going to script it. There were a series of changes from kind of a leadership standpoint. Paul was still there, but the sales leader changed, and one of the best things that ever happened to me, I'm going to come back to this, was, so I've been there for a couple of years. And Paul said, "Hey, you're not ready to be the VP of sales yet, right? Like, you just don't have enough experience. But I'm going to give you the opportunity to do the role without being in the role. And I'm going to take you all the buying group stuff. I'm going to introduce you to everybody." And Paul's strength was his just unbelievable relationships with all the buying groups and the dealers and reps and all that. And literally for a year, I just kind of was right on Paul's coattails the whole time, and literally was his shadow, going to FIDAs and going to MOFSIs and going to all the buying group stuff. And I learned, that's how I met, so many of the industry leaders. And I can tell you, I probably shouldn't do this, but the names I just have relationships with because of that. Jonathan Gustafson was just up here, but Paul Gustafson, I got to know so well because of Paul Angrick and frankly playing golf at FIDA. And people like Art Manny from R.W. Smith, retired a couple years ago. Like, I just go through the list of so many great people I met in that period because Paul gave me that opportunity. When again I wasn't ready, and then I became the VP of Sales at Pitco in the beginning of 2013. Wow! And that was at the time, it was so humbling because, at the time, Jason, I was 31, and it was one of the biggest divisions of Middleby. And why it was so humbling is the sales team we had was very tenured. And I will tell you, looking back, we've had a lot of great salespeople at Pitco and Middleby. There's great people in the industry. That was the best sales team I've ever seen. Like that legitimately was an all-star team. And for the record, it had nothing to do with me, right? It was the team that Paul had built, the team that was in place before that. I go through that list, some of which are still today, but from a regional, a national account, international standpoint, it was exceptional. And so I felt so fortunate that I'm getting this opportunity to lead this team. But it was like I was learning from that group every day because of the experience they had. And so that to me was one. I mean, if I look back at turning points, that was an unbelievable opportunity. And I owe that 100% to Paul Angrick. Like, again, I'm going to have a common theme I'm probably going to bring up tonight when you talk about there were tons of people more qualified than I was. If you go on pure experience, right? He could have promoted from within. He could have called, an industry recruiter. Hey, I knew a VP of sales at Pitco, and yet he mentored me for a year and then gave me the opportunity. And yeah, so that was a turning point. I'm going to come back to I left for a period of time because it's too long of a story. I did leave and went to Wasserstrom. I do want to come back to this because it's another turning point. But for sake of getting through the verse question you have, I'm going to, and it's not. I want to come back to it because it is one of the most important things I feel like I did.
Yeah.
I left for about 5 months. I came back literally as the same role, VP of sales. And I came back in April of 2015. I became the president of Pitco. And that was when Paul got moved to a corporate role at Middleby. Dave Brewer, who was our chief operating officer, stepped in to find a new president. And I became the new president at Pitco. And again, I will say common theme. If I think of people up to that point that had such an influence in my life, it was Greg Baker, it was Paul Angrick, and then it was Dave Brewer. And, the opportunity again that Dave and frankly, Tim Fitzgerald, but I'll get to Tim in a minute, gave again to a young guy who wasn't the most qualified. And, at the time, I was 34. And so humbling again, and that was so that was Pitco, and then that's when I ended up moving to New Hampshire with my family in that role, and then from there expanded my responsibilities to be a group president in Middleby, which meant you took on additional divisions. Next division I took on was Blodgett. Which is it's such a great brand. It's up in Vermont, a couple hours from me, and great brand, great people, great culture, and did that. And I'm kind of fast forwarding, but at the beginning of last year, then as Dave stepped away as our chief operating officer, I got promoted to the chief commercial officer. Along with James Poole, who's my buddy, who's our chief technology officer, and a number of others. Corey Cole, leading our beverage team, and that's where we are today. So it's I've been, again, I'm going to say it a lot on this call. I've been incredibly fortunate to think of all those places I've had the opportunity to be, and the number of people that have given me those opportunities. It's been pretty awesome, and I've for a person who never knew what this industry was about, never knew it existed, and thought it was going to be short term when I first started, and to think of just everything it's meant to me is it's been really awesome.
Wow, Steve, I love your story. There are so many nuggets in there, for your journey. Let's do. Sure. I'm going to pull up a few comments. Rich, what a great mentor Paul Angrick is, and you've paid that forward so many times yourself.
Thanks, Rich.
How cool. Love it, Rich. This is Anna Duffy. Go, Steve. He's one of the best leaders, dads, and friends. Gosh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Who's this? Oh, our buddy Craig Wilson, American Recruiters. Yo, Craig, your Middleby culture is much like when the company first catapulted from a sleepy revolving tray oven manufacturer. It is culturally driven, which so few companies are. Congrats to bringing it back. How cool.
That's very nice. Thank you, Craig. I would tell you, I'd be remiss on that comment. I'm sure we'll maybe talk a little more about later. The culture they reference. I think we have an unbelievable culture in Middleby, and it begins and ends with Tim Fitzgerald, our CEO. The team, the culture is built because we have unbelievable people. I know that sounds very cliche, and you think, okay, Steve's supposed to get on here, he's supposed to have great people. We have unbelievable people, and the culture comes from you find great people, and you get out of their way. You put them in an environment where they're empowered and they can do what they do best. And I think that's that's an environment that Tim has created. Whether it's the executive team, you're running a division, salespeople, engineers. So when you reference the culture, I like to play a role in it, but that really starts with Tim and the way he envisions and runs the company.
I love it. You guys, this is amazing. So the comments and the questions, you guys, I am not gonna be able to get to everybody tonight because we're through one question and we're halfway through the conversation. It's great. There's just so many people, Steve, that it's
nice. I will. I'm on note. I will stay as long as you want, Jason.
Okay. I don't want to keep you from your kids or your family.
I love it. I love talking about the industry. So if I'm here as long as you want me to be.
You're awesome. This is a blast. This is a friend that you and I were talking about, Melissa Greenwald, who you're buddies with. Melissa, wow. I've known Steve for a long time, and I've always had great respect for him and his amazing career path. Here's what I learned tonight. We went to high school together. Number one, go Rocks. If anyone needs a yearbook pick, let me know. Melissa, email me. That would be epic.
That would be a quick end to our friendship. I can assure you that. Melissa, super awesome. I was actually telling Jason before we got on, sorry, we got all these great stories. Melissa, I know, was your guest a few weeks ago, which I thought was awesome. Melissa started, yes, same hometown, but also, is a rep still, but, came into the industry. Her dad was a very successful rep in the market. I would just say two things about Melissa that I've always been impressed with. Usually, actually, Jim Zink was on last week. I'd say the same thing. Usually when you're a second, third generation person in this industry, external industry, most of the time I feel like you're entitled, you're complacent. You don't really have to work that hard because your last name's Greenwald or your last name's Zink. And they both have bucked, I feel like, the tradition, and they have made such a name for themselves. The quick story I told you earlier is I met Melissa for the very first time. We'll see if she remembers this. We're on the local MOFSI finance committee in Chapter 7. And I still remember it because it was Melissa, myself, a guy named Kim Knock from Kaler Borden. And we were all probably in our mid to late 20s. And I still can't believe they put literally the youngest people in MOFSI Chapter 7 in charge of all the money. And it was the three of us. And that's the first time I met Melissa. And I don't think we screwed up too bad. But I would just say, to round it out, sorry, I get so wound up, excited. The recognition Melissa is getting, I know she won the MOFSI, I forget the MOFSI award.
Rep Achiever of the Year.
And then, the recognition she's getting Saturday night at the FBNS event is awesome, and it's so well deserved. She is incredibly legit, and nice to get some good Dublin recognition. So thank you.
She does remember, and she's not disclosing the pick. You're safe. You're safe. There's so many people. Goodness gracious, Josh is in the house. Chris, Chris, very inspiring. Love this.
He's our chef, one of our chefs in residential, our innovation kitchen in Dallas. He is legit one of the best chefs I've ever met in my life. Awesome. The guy's a freaking rock star. Yeah.
Chris, will Chris be at NRA? Do you know?
He will not be at NRA.
Okay.
You have to come to Dallas.
Got it. We'll meet you sometime, Chris. We'll get down there. I'm going to pull up a question, and there are so many. I mean, Stephanie Martin, such a pleasure. It was a pleasure to have a front row seat to a good majority of those days, Steve.
Well, I talked about the great sales team. Stephanie Martin was part of that. Pit go Blodgett days. Yep.
Stephanie, way to go. We met Stephanie, I think, last year at the CIFA conference. She chimed in and said something fun, I think. I'm going to pull David Maxwell's in the house. Been fortunate to cross paths with Steve in my DSR journey. David, you're an inspiration to so many of us, brother. I'm going to pull up a question real quick from Kathy Langlois with Zumba Group. Sure. And the reason I do, particularly this one, is because you remind me of Kathy. In this capacity, when Kathy came on our show and we did a conversation, we shared a conversation, she said that she always, in her career journey, she didn't take jobs. She followed people who she thought were the best leaders, the best mentors, the people she could learn the most from to some degree. You know, that I wanted to be around people that were smart, that knew what was going, that could inspire and all this kind of stuff. And in your story, as you talk, you keep highlighting the people, you know, Paul and Dave, and I think it was Greg, like all these people that affected you, that invested in you, believed in you, taught you. And it seems it was a theme for Kathy too. I'm curious what the biggest aha you learned about yourself from the mentorship of others. So we're tying right into it, Steve.
That's a great, that is a great question. I think I would say two things that come to mind. And yeah, it's great. Wow, that's a great question. So the first one I would say is something I learned from Dave Brewer. You know, if you know, so a lot of people know Dave from our industry, and you know, if you know Dave, you know, Dave can be, especially I know him quite as well back in his days at Yum and prior, but you know, Dave can be an intimidating guy, right? He can be very no nonsense. He can be in your face. He can be direct. He will challenge you. If he gets you on the ropes, right? He is not afraid of going after you and challenging you very toughly. And there's a lot of great things on that side I learned about him. What most people do not know about Dave is Dave's greatest success. And I've told him this, he'll probably, I will say for me, tennis, Dave's greatest success is everything he's done non-business related. Having met his family, his wife, Laura, and his kids and their spouses, and a lot of his grandkids, he has an unbelievable family, and he is a deep man of faith. And you know, what I learned from Dave in those mentorships is the aha moment of how you find the balance behind being a great industry person, being very dedicated, working your butt off for your company, and yet still, you know, developing such great humans in your kids and your wife. And they're all crazy smart. And sometimes, you know, how your kids are shaped is a lot in your control. Sometimes it's not, but they're all great kids. And, you know, again, they're all, you know, they're just genuinely kind people. So Dave is the first one I feel like gave me that aha moment of, okay, it is very possible to do both. And even though you don't see the personal side with Dave until you really get to know him, I can tell you very much so it's something that I've learned from him and I've very much admired from him. The second thing I would say is something I've learned from Tim Fitzgerald. You know, Tim is, you know, our CEO today. He's been the CEO for the last couple of years. He's a longtime CFO of Middleby, really for 20 plus years from really as Middleby's grown as a company. It's, you know, Tim's been there. Most people probably don't know Tim. He's not quite been as visible in the industry. He is, without question, he's the smartest person I have ever met in my life. And what is fascinating about Tim is, think about this. We all know who I'm going to talk. We all know the stereotype I'm going to talk about, the people that think they're the smartest people in the room. Sure. Right? You know how they act. You know how they carry themselves. My experience is they're very rarely the smartest person in the room. Tim, 99.9% of the time, is the smartest guy in the room, and he never acts like it. Wow. And it's very powerful, and it's what's so endearing about Tim. And we also, to answer the question, I've learned about Tim is always about the team. He never takes credit for anything. And all the success Middleby has had, I mean, Tim has been such a catalyst for all of that, and he never will take credit. It's always about the team. And that's why you love working for him. It goes back to the comment about the culture of the company. It starts with Tim because you genuinely just want to be around him. And so when you think about how you create culture, how you lead, every time I'm with Tim, I feel like I learn something new. It's like another crash course, like crash MBA course, just being around him. And that's what, to me, that is a perfect example of what great leadership is. And you don't learn that. You're not learning that in an MBA program. You're not reading a book about that. Like, I feel like Tim inherently, that is how Tim is. And so those would be my two things. That's a great question. And those would be my two top of mind thoughts.
Kathy, great question. Steve, I love the answers. I mean, really thoughtful, so real, and it's clear you embody both of those, and you take it on. You watch something happen, you see something's possible that you didn't realize, or perhaps you hadn't seen before, and you're like, you know what? I want to emulate that in my life. I'd like to create a way where I'm contributing at a high level in my organization, and my family knows I love them wildly, and that I've got their back, and that we're in this together. Holy smokes! Here's, you just talked about Tim and culture and the power of culture. Here's a question from Chris East. Culture is hugely important. You mentioned it comes from the top, but what do y'all do to ensure it becomes a way of life top to bottom and ultimately replicable while maintaining genuine in your organization, right? By remaining genuine in your organization. Great question, Chris.
It's a great question. And I will tell you, I don't want to give too much of the secret sauce away of Middleby. Joking, not joking. As we've gotten bigger as a company, we have 100+ brands, 100+ divisions around the world. So it becomes harder.
Yeah.
Right? It is, I don't care what kind of company you are, as you'll grow in complexity, number of people, number of entities, it becomes harder to hit the right culture that you want throughout the company. I will pivot back to, it comes back to having great people, right? If you find and develop and empower the right people in those local divisions, it takes care of itself, because they're the ones that are ultimately carrying the same message back to, whether it's, in manufacturing, it's the shop floor, it's engineering, it's the sales team, right? It's like, that's who that team is looking to as that leader of respective division. And they're ultimately a function of, in our case, the Middleby corporate team. But it comes back to having the right person that, one, understands it, but is totally empowered to affect change in their respective division to carry on that culture. So we talk a lot about, even though we become a big company, you still want to act in many ways as small as possible, if that makes sense. Yep. And so again, I think that's how I would answer that. It just comes back to finding the right people and empowering them to carry that message.
Great answer. I love it, Steve. This is our friend Deirdre Flynn. Superior intellect and deep kindness and respect for others. We're so lucky to have Tim, Dave, Paul, and Steve in our industry. D, you're awesome.
That's super nice. We hopefully have a chance to talk a little bit about NAFM, but Deidre's, I'm sure everybody knows, runs NAFM, has for a long time, and is I wish more people had the opportunity to kind of peek behind the curtains of NAFM sometimes. That a board member, officer of NAFM does, just to see all the work that that Dee and the NAFM team does, and just the passion that they have for the industry. A lot of it happens behind the scenes, but Deidre, Charlie, the entire NAFM team are just great people, great industry advocates and ambassadors.
Well said. Absolutely. Dee, great work. Keep it up. Okay, question. Let's get to Steve, the human. Here's a question that I had, but it's also one that Quentin Webb had earlier today in the Power Plant Network, about what's a hobby or an escape that you have to keep yourself Charged up. My question was kind of, when you're not doing this, what are you doing, Steve, to fill up your bucket?
Yeah, it's great question. Contrary to what Rich O'Brien had to say, used to play a lot more golf than I do. That was a hobby for a long time, as I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. Jobs and kids are not good for your golf handicap, and I can certainly attest to that. I would say, again, probably feels like a cliche answer, but it is genuinely how I feel. So, a great family. My wife, Jamie, been married for almost 18 years. And I have 3 kids. Callie's 15, Ellen 9, Jack is my little guy is 5. And I will tell you, as I've probably gone older and careers progressed, and I've always traveled a lot. Like I know probably many on the call tonight. The time at home I probably value more than I ever have. And I will tell you, it's not a hobby. So I'm not going to answer the question quite the right way.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I've tried really hard to be intentional about, when I'm with them in moments. I'll give you an example. Like this morning, I'm home and I love taking the kids to school. And our routine, it just times out the start times of school is we all load up in the car and we have a great local coffee shop that we go to. And I personally love coffee. One of my passions, I don't know the right words. I came from Tim Fitzgerald, for the record. And then so my oldest daughter now loves it. And then the 2 younger ones get different things. No parent shaming on, my son getting a brownie for breakfast. But this morning we're in the car, we're driving to the coffee shop, and you got the music on, the radio's getting these, and they're singing at the top of their lungs. I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah. And you're not thinking about the Zoom call at 9 o'clock. You're not thinking about the 100 things you have to do throughout the day. You're just in that moment, and the kid, it's just like they're so innocent and they're loving what's going on. And I got to be honest with you. So I love stuff like that. The other thing I would share with you is, my oldest daughter, Callie, is big into club soccer. And parents, I'm sure on here, have kids in club sports, is pretty insane. A little crazy how much they're on the go with trainings and traveling and all that stuff. Some of my favorite moments with her specifically are just the time in the car, or a couple of trips we've made where you're on a plane, just the 2 of us together, and just that time again when it's just sometimes the 2 of you. I have these times, all the kids, but this has been a little bit more recent with her. Is just, again, you're not thinking about work. You're not thinking about some of the stresses or the upcoming stuff. It's just, you're just in that moment with them. And, I'm sure, I know you talk to parents that are a little bit older than I am, that have kids that are older. And I know those are moments, they really cherish. And I try to do that as well. So it's maybe not quite a hobby, but I will tell you that's how I try to be very intentional not to be on my phone, and don't always maybe succeed quite so much. But I really love that time with them.
I think it's hard to say that there's a better way to spend your away from work time than the way you're doing it, Steve. Really, Quentin, who's the one who asked the question. Quentin, that's a great answer. Living in those moments and the time with the kids are priceless. Love it. Josh Callahan, that might be the best hobby. 100%. Really, really well said. Oh, I love it, Steve. Relish in all the small moments. Take them all in. Heck yes. One of your passions, you're the president-elect on the NAFM board, which is a volunteer position. It's a way of service. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But one of your passions is continuing to recruit younger folks, maybe out of college in their mid-20s, into the industry. We're fortunate, those who find our way in, usually we fall our way in somehow, or someone at a club asks us if we want a job. We love what we do. And particularly this side of the industry is one where we get to be in food service. We get the hospitality mindset, but we get to do it in a way that isn't losing all our holidays. It isn't losing all our weekends. It isn't losing all our nights. there's a balance that really is possible in our side of the industry. Talk about your passion to sort of continue to encourage younger folks into the industry. And do you have any thoughts on best ways that we as an industry can continue to try to do that?
I appreciate you bringing it up. Sorry, I apologize in advance. I'll probably get long-winded on this one also. I'm passionate about this to start for a couple of reasons. One, as long as I've been in the industry, it always gets talked about. Oh, this industry is old. There's no young talent coming in the industry. Everybody's been saying it for 20 years, and yet we keep saying it because, in my opinion, we've completely failed as an industry. We have failed, and yeah, there's pockets of success. Companies have done it better, but by and large, we know it's an issue, and yet I don't think holistically we have really addressed it. And I'm also passionate about it because, I'm not in this industry. I'm not, at Middleby, I'm not on this call right now. If somebody, going back to Greg and say, hey, I'm going to take a chance and hire some 22-year-old kid at college who doesn't know anything. And I'm going to invest, I'm going to take a risk. Because, I mean, I think about it a lot is, what would normally happen? You go back 20 years ago, or even today, I'll pick on reps for a second, but you can apply it to anything. A rep wants to add another person, even if it's a young person, to their team. I think the things you would do, again, I'm going to get all these texts from a bunch of reps, and I'm generalizing. Please leave me alone.
You're good.
I think the things you would do, you try to go poach another rep, right? Hey, I like that guy over there. See if you can get him to come over. You'd poach a DSR. Maybe you call the industry recruiter. I feel like those three things you would go to first before you'd hire somebody out of school or you didn't really know. So like we have to fundamentally change. So that's why I'm passionate about it, because we have to solve it. How do we fix it? How do we get after it? I think I would say three things. One, the trade associations have done, I think, some good stuff. I think there's tools they've given us. We've all, talked about the Young Executive Group at NAFM. It's a great organization. We've done good stuff. MOFSI has their group. FIDA has their group. A trade association is not going to solve this, right? If you are looking to MOFSI, NAFM, FESA, FIDA, et cetera, to solve this, you are in for a rude awakening. So ultimately, the way we solve this is it's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to everybody on this call, it's up to Cowmill, it's up to Middleby, it's up to literally every company in our industry. You have to think differently. And you have to do what Greg did, and you have to take a risk on people outside your comfort zone. Stop poaching people, stop calling the industry recruiter. It's nothing against them, but we have enabled those recruiters to have all these careers because we keep doing the same things over and over. Right? So we're doing it to ourselves. And why? Because we don't want to take a risk. We're all too busy. We don't want, they could come in 6 months later, they're gone. Happens all the time. The job market's crazy right now. Why am I going to take a risk? You're going to hire somebody here all the time. They don't want to work that hard. And then boom, it starts and ends with all of us. There is no other crazy solution. It is that. And then the last thing, and this is the most important thing I would tell you. And I was hoping this would come out because it's a little bit of a quick story.
Yeah.
When I was a rep, I just moved to Cincinnati. I'm 24, 25. And I moved down there and I was really frustrated. I remember calling Greg and I'm like, I am making no inroads. It's the good old boys network, right? I'm the kid at the reception desk, and all the other reps, they're walking back to the dealers, and they're walking back to consultants, and it's high-fiving, and they're going for beer afterwards. And I'm the guy stuck at the reception desk just trying to get in, and I got really frustrated very early. I'm like, I don't understand why it's like this. And Greg's advice was, hey, get over it and go outwork them. And so that was my approach. Like, I'm just going to start showing up more. And, I started to make inroads, and I started to notice as I was doing that, there was a lot of great reps in Cincinnati, by the way, but I started to see one rep more than anybody else. So I'm trying to prove myself. I'm like going 100 miles an hour, trying to break in. And I kept seeing this rep all the time. And his name was Barry Wank. Barry I was 25. He was probably 50. I really didn't know him at the time when I started to recognize this, but he worked for WB Marketing. It was his family company. I believe, I'm going to screw this up, I'm sorry, that I think they had the Anotis line, so kind of present day well-built lines. So I just remember being blown away. It's like, here's a rep that is very experienced. He has great lines, and he's working as hard as I am. And I admired that from afar. But then what happened is when I would start to see him, he started to engage me. And he would talk, like he would go out of his way to talk to me. And, just how's it going? And talk, and then it kind of led to occasionally would have coffee together. And it was insightful about the market and the history. And hey, I'm doing this, here's how I worked with this guy. And it was, at the time, it was lost on me because I was really just kind of like, hey, this guy's being really nice. And as I think back on that, I still don't even have the right words. The fact that reps do not make money buying other reps coffee. And here is a guy that going out of his way to mentor, spend time with a young rep just because he loved the industry. Wow. And I look at that and I go, I feel like it's unheard of. So we all have great mentors. I talked about Paul and Dave, Tim, those great mentors, and I've worked for them. But how many of us, and listen, I'm sitting here, don't feel like I'm preaching because I have not done a good job of this either. How many of us have been mentored by somebody from a competitor, from somebody that's not a direct employee, or vice versa? So to me, sorry, it's a very long-winded answer. No. How we solve this is stop waiting for a trade association to figure it out. Take it on yourself. Have to think differently. 99% of everybody's time is worrying about your own company. Totally the right way to think about it. Find the 1% to go do what Barry Wank did to me. Tragically, Barry got sick and passed away maybe 7 or 8 years or so ago now, and at 60, incredibly sad. I look back at that and I just go, I can't believe he did that. And I share. I'm happy. Of all the questions I hope you would ask me about, because this is the one I'm most passionate about, and we have to be more like him. That's the only way we fix this. So my last challenge: NRAs this weekend. Everybody's in their booth. You're busy. Go literally take an hour. Walk out of your booth. Your booth will be fine. And go walk the show. And you should think about, what does this look like in 10 years? Like who are in these booths? Who are the customers? Who are the manufacturers? Who are the reps? Just walk. And if you don't come back to this and be like, oh my gosh, we have to solve this immediately, I don't know. I think you'd be crazy. So
I love the stories. Who is this? This is Melissa Greenwald. Love that story. Thanks for sharing. It's so relatable on so many levels. I love this. Is Zena Dater out of Oklahoma. Hi, Zena. Love this. Hire them green and they're like sponges when they're young. Nothing feels better than seeing young folks be successful knowing that you're a part of it. You definitely need both youth and experienced people. Both can learn from each other. How cool is this? Larry Rosenthal. It's not just hiring them, it's training and mentoring them while you have them in their court, which most don't invest their time to accomplish that.
Yeah, great point.
Great settler. You know, Steve and I were talking the other day. We hired, when I had my rep firm with my partners, Desert Peak here in Denver,
Yep.
we hired a kid. We had a factory person on the East Coast who's one of our manufacturers. He goes, "Hey, my kid's in Denver. He's a drummer." He goes, "You should hire him." And Nick shows up in a backwards hat and a sweatshirt. And I'm like, okay, this will be interesting. I'm so curious how this will go. I don't think I've ever had this experience. And we hired him for inside. He started doing auto quotes and, you know, stuff. And he slowly moved up. And today, that was, golly, 2013, 14. Today, he's a partner. You know, Chasten, who chimed in earlier, that story sounds familiar. We hired Chasten, I don't know, 6 years ago. She was a social worker. Someone introduced Jason Worth up in the Northwest, introduced her to me. And she was like great and eager and organized. And we're like, let's try it. She had no idea of the industry. And now she's a really successful person at Cardinal, our Cardinal national accounts person. So great job. Man, people are going nuts on this. This is awesome. I can't keep up with it all. Everybody, like, I love the comments. Steve and I'll go back and look at them for sure. But I love this. Look at this. Reverse mentoring too. I've learned more from our younger team at this point. I don't know who that is. Oh, that's Maureen Slocum. Maureen, absolutely. You know, we talk about all the time, there's this idea of leveling up where we find people who have knowledge or insight or wisdom that we'd like to learn, and we get to know them. We spend time with them to assimilate that, you know, to accumulate that. And we should all be looking for mentors like that we can level up with, that are younger than us, that are, you know, a generation that is more advanced in a different way than we are, whatever that is. I learn, you know, we've got Josh and Mary and Christina on our team, all younger than me. I think at least 10 years. And good Lord, the amount I learned about social media and Instagram and connecting with people in new ways and stuff I never would have thought about. It's amazing. Maureen, really great point.
Great point.
Look, we have, I don't know how to end this. We're going to end this here, and then we're going to wrap it up, because we know you all have things to get to, and maybe Steve and I will do this again, because this is so fun, and your engagement, everybody, is just fascinating. Let's see. Proudest moment for you professionally, and perhaps the proudest moment personally.
Good questions. I think, okay, so as usual, I'm going to answer a couple different ways. So I already talked about, so professionally, I would say, you know, becoming the VP of sales at Pitco. I talked about earlier just what that meant at my age and the team we had. So I would be remiss about mentioning that. Yeah. I know it seems like the obvious one of, hey, becoming the chief commercial officer last year. I mentioned that because this is something also I've learned from Dave Brewer. You know, whether if you're leading a sales team, you're running a company, you're running a rep firm, whatever it may be, when you're in a leadership role, in the case of, you know, Middleby, you know, being officer of the company, I mean, we have 10,000 or so employees. Wow. And, you know, something Dave talked a lot about, still would, is, you know, when you're in a role like that, you, good or bad, decisions you make, the way you do things, you affect 10,000, in our case, 10,000 people's lives and their families' lives. And it is, when you really think about it like that, and you have to think about it every day, because it's how, not only decisions you make, but it's the manner in which you conduct yourself, because you're always a representation of those employees in the company. And again, okay, we're a little bit bigger company, but it doesn't matter if you have, you know, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, right? You're still, if you're in a leadership role, you're in a position where you're affecting people's lives. So that was very Your President Pitco is humbling. This is kind of the next step. So that's what, very proud that I would have the ability to, you know, be part of a group that, you know, impacted, hopefully positively, y'all's lives. And that, again, I'd be remiss, you know, being part of Tim's team in that role is, it's the fact I get to do that every day with him and James, our chief technology officer, Brian, our CFO, the rest of the team, is that's been so rewarding. So those would be my top couple. Sorry, I didn't give you just one. Personally, again, I feel like it's very cliche. I have an unbelievable family, and what's really cool. When I became president of Pitco, I talked about we moved to New Hampshire, and you may say, hey, okay, it's easy to accept the job to be the president of Pitco. It's a great career opportunity. It was, but the personal side of it was taking my family of 4 at the time and leaving family and everything, your community, your church, all of the above, and going to a place where we don't know anybody. And it was a transition for sure. And what I'm proud of, to answer your question, is about a year ago, I asked the other 4 members of my immediate family, hey, my job's changed. Do you want to move back to Ohio? Do you want to go somewhere else? And they all wanted to stay here. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And we did that I feel like we did it on our own. And that's, I'm proud of them. And I'm proud of, the family for doing that.
Good for you all. I love how you're doing it together. Jonathan Gustafson, great conversation. Thanks for sharing your story, Steve. Hope we can catch up at NRA. Listen, Steve, one of my favorite parts of the night is getting to tell you that you, of all the things you're proud of, that are much of all the mentors you've had, you've mentored many. And, we talk about what did Maureen call it? Reverse mentoring, where we're learning from people who are younger than us. And you've had a lot of opportunity to teach a lot of people just by living your life. It's clear just by watching you share your story about your family, about your intentionality, about who you are with your team. I think we learn more by seeing people model things that we respect and we value than we do by hearing anyone ever tell us what we should do or what it could be. And I think people watching you tonight, I will say, as a food service professional and as a dad to kids about your kids' age, I hear the way you're living life, and I think, gosh, I need to keep pressing in. I want to keep being more intentional. I want to keep being engaged at home and at work and all the things you're doing. So I'm going to read from a few fun people about the role that you played in their lives, because you still have a lot of career left, and hopefully this will be a place for you to build upon. And I know it will be. Okay, first, our mutual friend Deirdre Flynn with NAFM. When I was first introduced to Steve almost 10 years ago, you just got that feeling that you were meeting someone who would take the industry places, and as he is, and he will continue to because of his many talents. The beauty of getting to witness this is that it's only the beginning. It's been exciting to watch him grow, to advance new ideas and technologies, products and solutions to the Middleby brands, his real job, and to the industry at large as a NAFM leader. He's got all the leadership qualities you want to be around, and how lucky we are to get to work with him and for him. Well said.
Well, first of all, Jason, this is super cool that you do this. It's a great way to end your conversations. I feel it's like your Oprah moment of the show, which is very cool. And Deidre, thank you so much. Obviously, I talked a little about Deidre, and I think what she means to the industry, and I've learned, as I know so many people have learned from her, myself included, over the last 10 years. And lots of still good days to come with Deidre and the NAFM team. So thanks.
Lots of great stuff. Another NAFM friend that we share, Rich Packer. This is funny.
This should be good.
It's going to be great. When thinking about Steve, several words come to mind. Arrogant, obnoxious, condescending are all words that don't describe Steve. Other words like pedantic, haughty, and carper equally don't relate. So Rich. In reality, Steve is one of the most thoughtful, insightful, and enjoyable to be around individuals that I have ever had the pleasure to meet and know. Over the years, he has become one of my closest friends in the industry. And I'm grateful for his counsel over the years. I can only hope that when he succeeds me as president of NAFM in 2024, that I haven't set the bar too low. Steve Spittle is an absolute rock star.
Well, thank you, Rich Packer. That's super nice. I would say, that is what is great about NAFM for me, right? So you think about, and we talk a lot about, kind of service, and what it means to serve. In this case, NAFM. I would be a strong advocate for anybody's watching. NAFM is great, so you should get involved with. But one of the big benefits for me is here's a guy, Rich, who I'm an equipment guy. Rich is president of American Metalcraft. I really still don't know what Rich sells. Joke. I'm sure he'll. But he's on the small wares, tabletop side, right? So we're at opposite ends of the spectrum. So I would have no reason to know Rich, and yet I echo the comments. He's become a great friend and great, resource and counsel to me as well. So that to me is what makes, one of the things that makes NAFM so special is just the connection and friendship I've developed with Rich. So thank you, Rich, for the
agreed. One from our friend Dave Brewer, one of your the people you mentioned earlier. I've watched Steve transform from a street smart, hands-on sales and marketing person to a world-class corporation executive. Steve has done it all in a very short amount of time. He has turned around corporations. He has led acquisitions. He has integrated corporations, making them both better than they were before. He has personally lived operations. He has personally led engineering. And now he's en route to being one of the few people that can run a global restaurant technology and manufacturing company. All of this while balancing, in my opinion, perfectly work and family and God. I'm proud to say, I'm going to get emotional. I'm proud to say that I got the opportunity to watch it all happen and to be a part of it and to be amazed by Steve's potential to make our industry better than it ever has via both his corporate leadership and his contributions on the board of NAFM. And I'm proud to say that he is my friend.
Yep. He's a special guy. And you heard my comments earlier. I'm so fortunate, as I said, that I've gotten to know Dave and his family, and respectively, Dave's gotten to know my wife, Jamie, and all of my kids. And if you need to know anything more about Dave Brewer, when we were at the NAFM annual meeting, I had my kids with me and walk out of meeting prep one day, and Dave has them at the bar buying them donuts and ice cream. And that's all you need to know about Dave Brewer. This kind of guy he is, but I don't even have words. He's been such a mentor, as I said, professionally and personally. Those comments mean a lot.
I love it, Dave. You're a special man. We're grateful for you. And lastly tonight, though there are many, is gosh, this is fortuitous. Paul Angrick. Steve has been a friend and an industry colleague of mine for almost 20 years. Steve entered the food service equipment industry as a manufacturer's rep in 2003, right out of college. He has ascended through the ranks in manufacturing commercial restaurant equipment with his intelligence, his unmatched work ethic, being a strong communicator, and along with being a great strategist and visionary. Steve serves our industry as president-elect for NAFM, while also leading the Middleby Corporation as its chief commercial officer. It has been a pleasure and a privilege to see Steve grow and evolve over the years into one of our industry's true leaders. And I'm going to throw this in. He didn't put it in there. In the email to me, he said, "Hey, Jason, thanks for letting me contribute, ... Steve is like family to me." Pretty cool, man.
Chase, you do it a couple of times tonight. He is like family to me and my family as well. Again, similar to Dave, knows Jamie and the kids. He is a gentleman. That's the best word for Paul Anger. He's a gentleman. I've had, as we've talked, I've had a lot of great mentors. I've had a lot of great people. As I look back though, Jason, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Paul Angrick.
Well, listen, Steve, he saw something in you and he invested, like you encouraged all of us to tonight, to invest in others, to be a competitor and find a way to take someone to coffee, even the competition aside, because you see someone that is inspiring you or moving you and you want to help them grow. Thanks to Paul and all those people who you connected with you, believed in you, invested. And so many lessons tonight. Holy smokes. I don't know who this is, but someone simply said, wow, I would agree. Wow. Oh, that's our buddy, Charlie. Charlie Surata. Charlie, what's up, brother? Thanks for the great time. Jason, Steve, our flew. Gosh, Quentin needed this tonight. Awesome. As always, thanks, gentlemen. Don, thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you, Don. Thanks for being with us. Chasten, what a wonderful and inspiring interview. I could connect on so many levels. Thank you, Steve and Jason. Who's this? Deirdre. And he's a kick-ass pianist. Is that you?
Oh, boy. Yeah.
That's the rock star. That's the rock star. The pianist. I love it. Someday, maybe you can play on here or at a party or something. That would be really fun. Thanks, Steve. As always, Jason, great conversation. I would agree. Holy smokes. Tonight was a gift for me. And I think for so many here, I mean, Steve, I'll say this is some of the most engagement we've had in one of these. So I think what you're doing and how you're doing it and the way you're affecting people is touching people in a way that's inspiring. So all those comments are real. Food Service Power Plant Network, I hope you got a ton. I'm sure you did. Ways to invest, ways to learn, ways to find people to get to know who can educate you and inform you and grow with you and mentor you, and the power of that. That piece about work ethic. You know, Steve talked about deciding to outwork people. I remember early in my career, Steve, for me, I got into the industry. I was a history teacher, and I didn't know a Spittle from from anything. Like, I didn't know any of it. And I remember for me at the time, it was George Le Cavalier, who was a notice guy. And I was like, George has been doing this 30 years. I've been doing this 30 minutes. The only way I make a little bit of progress is to try to outwork anybody. And he became a friend over time, and Carl and Rich and all these people, and Brian, John, all these people that were my competitors who became friends because they saw what I was doing. I saw what they were doing, and we all believed in one another. So listen, I love that was your story, and it resonates on so many levels. I hope wherever you're at, you've got people reaching out to you to connect and believe. And I hope you get to do that to anyone that you see doing the same, who's making a difference in your community, wherever you are at the local level. And continue to listen and ask questions and, poke around and learn and encourage. Listen, Food Service Power Plant Network, thanks for joining Steve and I. What a night to be together. What a great way to go into NRA. I hope that we will see you all at NRA. Either go find Steve in the Middleby booth. Steve, do you know what your booth number is? You probably have a bunch of them, but I don't know. It's all right. You'll find it. It's huge. It's big.
Yeah, we walk up the escalator first thing to the right. So
there you go. Turn to the right. I think you're on the south side, maybe. I don't remember. But anyway, go find Steve. Go say hi.
Absolutely.
There you go. Come say hi to me. We'd love to see you. Me and the Cowmel team love to say hi. And look, if you find yourself in a position right now, we always say this at the end because it matters. You know, Steve and I, and every person who's come on this show, probably 80 some, I think we've had now. We all have time. Steve said he had a time where he called his boss and was like, I'm frustrated. I'm struggling with this. This is, whatever it is, we all go through those moments. And if you're in that spot, your job is to keep moving forward. Keep taking steps. All these tools that Steve offered tonight, implement them in your journey, implement them in your life, make some changes so that as you continue to move forward, these moments of hope will come, these moments of insight, or maybe I should take this step, or maybe whatever those things are, you just got to keep moving. Don't sit still. Go outside for a walk. It's as simple as that. Or go to the NRA show and try to meet 5 new people to learn from, to listen to, stop by booths, see how people are talking, whatever that is. But keep moving. If you need encouragement, you can reach out to me, just about anyone in the Power Plant Network. Hey, again, thank you to the Zumba team for believing in the messaging and the heart of the Food Service Power Plant Network, and our hope to connect, to share stories, to inspire, and to grow, to develop tools, positive mindset tools, to continue to believe in ourselves, grow our confidence and our levels of achievement, and then our ability to affect others. Thank you to you. Thank you to the Crave team for believing in it as well. So thankful for all of you over there. And everybody, thanks for joining us. We will see you at NRA, and have a great night, everybody. Be well. Thanks, Steve.
All right. Take care.